Fabulous. Well, welcome to this presentation. It's started off life as video planning and video content creation, but it has morphed a little bit because the world is changing. So it's a bit of crisis management and also how we can plan going into the future with whatever we've got in store, which seems to be changing still on a daily basis. So really behind the brains behind this is Rebecca. I have to say, I'm just here really just to provide the Zoom link. It's Rebecca is the clever one. So we've got mostly her presentation, then I've got a few video ideas at the end, and then we've got hopefully loads of time for questions. But I am going to finish promptly at 12, so that 12:30. Okay, so if anyone has to get on to do something else, they can do that. So I'm going to hand over to Rebecca, who's now going to take us through her part of the presentation.
Okay, hello everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, I am a marketing and communications consultant. I've got over 20 years experience of working with organisations of all sizes on their communications and a lot of crisis comms support. And actually, as business owners in this world, this is in a way a crisis. How do we communicate to the people that we're trying to nurture and the people we're trying to attract to our business when it isn't the normal state of play? So when Claire and I were talking, as she said already, about, okay, well, how do we help give some inspiration if people are drying up with ideas in terms of video marketing? What should we share? I wanted to take a step back and actually apply some of the principles that the organisations that I work with, from Panasonic to Canon to Google, when they are in a crisis, when something hits that takes them outside of the norm, what things should people be keeping in mind when they are wanting to communicate and tell their story? So it is really, let me just make sure that I am doing the PowerPoint properly. Can everybody see? Has my slide moved along? Can I see any nods? Can you see the slide now that says video marketing? Great, then I'll stop asking. Video marketing, but this is during a crisis. And all we're wanting to do today is just a bite-sized workshop. It's just some top tips, some things that will hopefully give you a little bit of inspiration. And it's mainly thinking about the agenda. What is your purpose? As somebody who is promoting your business, what is your purpose? What should that be? What position should you take? And then how can you move that on to the planning and the consideration that you might have for your video marketing and potentially wider marketing plans that you're making? And when I say your purpose, I'm talking more about your value proposition. Hopefully when you have thought about marketing in the past and you're thinking about what you want to do to promote your business, you're thinking about the value proposition you have to your audience. What are you doing to help them? What are you doing to make yourself stand out from your competition? And how are you going to marry those two together to make sure that what your content that you're sharing is actually valuable and not just broadcasting sales messages? So I wanted to talk you through, first of all, your purpose in a crisis, in a situation which takes you outside the normal realms of business. And the first thing to think of is empathy first. We all have issues that are related, and not one person isn't affected by this coronavirus at the moment. Our businesses are affected, our customers are affected, clients, however you refer to them. And actually, what the troubles that we are having as individuals, the stresses we're having about money and the business and what's happening with our families and who's getting to see what, unfortunately, in a business situation, have to take a back seat. When we're communicating with our customers and prospects, it needs to be about them. We care about them. It's a narcissistic world. Even if we love to share all of our trials and tribulations and difficult things that we're experiencing, at the end of the day, they don't care, and they shouldn't, because they're worried about themselves. So the first thing is we really need to make sure that all of our marketing and communication during this time is actually about and helping and giving value to our end audience, which is our customer and our prospect. So I've got three things for you to consider when you're starting to think, okay, well, what's my purpose? What's my value proposition at this time in helping communicate in the right way? I wish my keyboard would let me click on. Click on. So the first thing is to start considering, what might your customers be experiencing? Now, this is in a broader relation to the service you offer. So you might be a graphic designer, a solicitor, a garden designer. It might be a case where, yes, in the broad relation to the service you offer, what are your customers experiencing? Are they experiencing challenges? Are there opportunities? Are there things that are actually going well for them in the area of your business? But mainly, what are the main challenges and areas of need directly related to the service that you offer? What difficulties might they be experiencing? Have a think through how this is impacting them in relation to your relationship with them. So the wider context of how you would work, and directly exactly what, can they access your service right now? Are they able to communicate with you easily? Or is it a case where, because you're unable to do that service, they're unable to do something for someone else? Really try and put yourself in their shoes. Try and be empathetic. Care about them. Understand their challenges, their opportunities, and their issues. Because if you can map that out, it's a really good starting point to start making sure, when you do come into the planning phase, is what I'm about to suggest as my next piece of content going to be relevant to what my customers are experiencing today? And then lastly, have a think and have a look around to see what your customers are actually doing in the wider world. It doesn't have to be directly related to your business, that you could showcase to others. Because one of the key things of being empathetic and nurturing your client and customer base is to show them that you care by promoting them. And obviously some of these things you guys might already be doing really well, and thumbs up, that's brilliant. We just need to make sure that we're ticking off some of the things that you may not have considered. And if you go away today with just one thing that you find valuable, then please, I'm happy. But the first things first, empathy first. Everything comes when you're in a crisis with empathy first. What's your customer experiencing? And then the second thing is, how can you be of service? How can your marketing be valuable and be of service to your clients and your customers? So this starts with, what kind of ways can you help? What mentoring can you provide? So let's think, actually, let's use Claire as an example. A few weeks ago, she decided, having being able to go into people's premises and being a great videographer and actually doing all of the content creation herself, recognizing that some of her customers wouldn't be able to access her, she's like, right, better help you by giving you some mentoring tips so that whilst you can't work with me, you can do something yourself. Here are some top tips. So what mentoring can you provide? What kind of things can you do in your marketing that can help someone feel like they're still being handheld by you, even if they don't directly get you doing it? But also, how can you be of service? And the last point is, what ways are you actually helping your community? We all like working with brands that give us a warm, fuzzy feeling. We like working with businesses that we think are working hard on behalf of others. So they're not just self-promoting, and they're not just saying, oh, are you stuck with this? Well, this is how you can do it slightly differently. That's part and parcel of a wider service that you provide. It's okay, and in fact, it's a good thing to showcase the volunteering work that you might be doing, the consideration about how you might be working in the next month or two. You know, how are you helping your community? How are you helping the wider world? And it might not be related to the service that you provide, but you can still do it with a hat of your business. Like I said, we like working with businesses that give us a warm, fuzzy feeling. So your marketing can be non-related as long as it's showcasing a warm feeling. We all need some positive inspiration right now. It's really important that we don't, as this progresses, start feeling that we're getting down. We might be feeling that in our personal lives, but as a business, it's all, this is great, it's okay, yes, we're doing this, we're doing that. It needs to be in a way that people are like, oh, cool, they're coming in. I'm feeling a bit down today, but I know when I hear from this business or they're sharing a video with me, even if it's for 3 minutes, it might give me a bit of escapism and I get to see something that's positive. Because that's one of the key things in terms of your purpose and your nurturing. Video is a great conduit for being personal. it's also important to be positive and passionate as much as you can be. So that's being passionate about the job that you give, the service you provide, the customers you have. It's being positive. Leave the negativity at home unless you really feel it's important to play on a negative point, because you're going to come in with a solution. You're going to be the inspiring person that's going to help somebody feel like, actually, yes, this is relevant. This negative thing is relevant to me, but here's someone to solve that issue. So those 3 Ps for me are quite important. When you're thinking about your purpose and you're thinking about your marketing content, and you're thinking about the approach you should take, be personal. You, me, we, be personal, be positive, and be passionate. So that's my main thing, first of all, in terms of planning your content and the frame of mind to have when you're thinking about the kind of topics to share. And I'm going to go on now to, oh, that looks nice, planning your content. So planning your content. This is the point where we're sitting down and we're actually getting a pen to paper and thinking, hey, what are the kind of topics and the things that I might do that I've either done before but might need to evolve slightly, or I haven't really thought about doing. And we're still keeping this in, if you like, a semi-crisis situation, because Claire and I want to make sure that we're thinking about video content and marketing that's relevant, that you could implement tomorrow. But at the same time, obviously, these are things that you could hopefully consider, you know, in months to come. So the first thing is to make sure that your content is relevant. You know, these are, as it says here, it's difficult roads at difficult times, but we're all learning and finding different ways of working and different things that we can do. And maybe there are elements of this particular lockdown that actually have shown positive sides. You know, we've had more time with family. We've been able to possibly have a bit more time, less commuting or whatever to spend on a hobby. No ideas. But there are times that we can find some beauty and some positivity in what we're doing. But when we're talking about nurturing our customers and our clients, and we're thinking about how to market our business to them, we need to make sure we're as relevant as possible. So the first thing to consider is to start mapping this out. What should we include? Start looking at what your customers are talking about. Find out what they're interested in. Maybe you could choose 5 key clients or customers that you see regularly, that you want to work with, that you want to nurture. Just have a look around on LinkedIn or Facebook or whichever channels you know that they work on. Maybe they're updating their blog on their website. But if they're a business, what are they interested in? What are they seeing that for them is something that's topical and relevant? And how might you be able to incorporate that into your planning? How can you engage? You know, are they already saying something that you can then respond with? So it comes to wider marketing, but also it could be, oh, I saw, you know, one of my clients is doing this. This is a video. One of my clients is doing this. I think it's really great. I thought I'd share my own thoughts in this video. It's a nice way to show that you're nurturing your community. If you think back to that purpose, if you match, when you've written down all of the empathy first points for you to consider, and then the how can you be of service that you could consider, you could match those two together to think of some topics for some video marketing. So that's another way to think, okay, well, how might I look at this through the lens of trying to be inspiring during a difficult time? And then lastly, what topics are trending? So I want to introduce you, just in case you haven't heard of them before, to 3 tools that you can consider. And this is where I start looking at planning, where although I don't automatically jump to, well, how am I going to promote the video or marketing content, I still need to understand how I might, so that the content I create is going to match and be as close and relevant to that as possible. So Google Trends, if you're not using that already, you can type in Google Trends into Google and up will come a search bar. Make sure that the top right hand side isn't United States, but it is United Kingdom. And you can start searching for topics that are relevant to your business, that are relevant to your customers and clients, and seeing, it's on a macro level, but it's still seeing, okay, well, what are the search terms? What are people actually looking for around this particular topic and this particular trend? So it will also give you examples of relevant terms and alternative search terms, so that you can have a play around and say, actually, if people are searching for these things related to these topics that I would like to promote, maybe I could start including those as topics of my videos, or consider that that's how I might be marketing them, because obviously any marketing content that you want to promote, you always try to put a hashtag or a SEO, a search engine optimization term, into the copy or into the title to help people find it easily. Well, it's also quite helpful to find out what people are searching for first, to make sure that what you're creating and you're sharing is as relevant as possible. So you'll see relevant topics and related queries if you type something into Google Trends, but it is, as I said, on a macro level. So we're looking at United Kingdom or other countries if you want to look at what's happening elsewhere in the world. But that's the first one. The second one, Twitonomy, links to if you've got a Twitter account. And this is quite a handy one if you're wanting to do some spying on people who are on Twitter. So it could be your customers, it could be influencers that you've already identified, like journalists or celebrities or whoever. It can also be your, I don't know what I said first, so let's go customers, influencers, and then just generally looking at what's actually happening in the wider world to do with hashtags. So you go onto Twitonomy, it's a partially free tool, but the free tool's enough to start with. You can go on, you can type in the person's name, so that their Twitter handle, the @ and then their name, and it will come up with some really interesting things in terms of the what they most mention, the hashtags they use most, the people that they might retweet and follow, what days of the week they're actually tweeting. So you become a bit of a spy, but actually it's part of the empathy. By understanding, let's go back to your 5 key customers or the people that you want to follow or be inspired by, it's quite handy to see what they're engaging with so that you can include in your mapping, actually that might be a topic or that might be a hashtag I might use or something else to try and capture that person's imagination and pull them in. So it's quite handy if you're on Twitter. It's a Twitter tool. So Twitonomy is helpful if you're on Twitter and you're wanting to engage with certain people. But also, even if you're, you have to be on Twitter to be able to link to Twitonomy. But even if you want to use that information, you could still use it for LinkedIn and Facebook, because that person who is sharing that information on Twitter will no doubt still be interested in those areas elsewhere. And you can also do a search term on a hashtag. So if there are particular hashtags that you've been using to promote your marketing content, you can double check how valuable they've been on Twitter and who is using them most and what kind of conversation is happening around them, to make sure that those hashtags and those topics that you might potentially plan to use are still relevant. And then the last one, thinking about hashtags, is hashtagify.me. And this is also a paid tool, but the free version, which you can just go in and use straight away, is still really helpful. This again is for you to type in some hashtags, which are search terms. They're short phrases or words that link to your business and link to the things that you would like to promote in the future. And you type in the hashtag. So you could even look under coronavirus if you wanted to, or COVID-19. So it's quite an interesting thing for personal use. But you can look in and type that hashtag in, and then it will come up and show you how popular it is. Is it one that you should be using or not? And as well as it being whether it's popular or not, it might give you alternatives and ones that are even more popular. So again, it's something that whilst these are tools that can help you when you come to promoting your content, by looking at them when you're thinking about the content to create, you might pull up some other topics or other areas that you might consider working with alongside how you can be of service and the kind of things that your customers are really interested in. So I just wanted to share those 3 topics with you and those 3 areas. And the last thing really relevant is, how has your business evolved? It's okay and quite interesting, and in fact in some areas imperative, to give business updates to your clients and customers to say what's happening. So it might be something that you do twice a week or once a week, but please be regular, please be frequent, and say, we're doing this, we've just found this, there's a new way of working, or we're looking forward, right, whilst we're not able to work now, we are doing some mentoring, please look at what we're doing. Communicate regularly. We all are interested in hearing from people who are being positive and who are prepared to inspire us. And we do have favourite businesses that we work with. And if you're already a favourite business, then I want to hear from you, because you're keeping me updated and making me feel nurtured by telling me what you're doing. So that's an okay thing to do. And it makes sure that when we come out of this, because your competitors will also be communicating regularly, if you're always leading with an empathy first, inspiring, relevant, topical marketing approach, then when we come out of this, they're more likely to be like, oh yeah, I heard from them regularly, I'm going to keep working with them, rather than, well, it's, things are a bit quiet and this person's talking to me quite a lot, so I might try them. We don't want them trying anyone else. We want them sticking with you. So it's okay to give updates, making things relevant to telling your clients and customers what you're up to. And if you're not already doing that, please do. Because, as I've said, people do, new slide, people do want to hear from you. They really, really do. And it's okay to sell, okay? It's not, I'm not against people selling at this time. This doesn't have to just be about nurturing and sharing some good things and positive things about the wider world. If you can sell, if you can do actually, whilst I can't work now, the first 10 people to sign up will be the first people now, will be the first people I can work with. So make sure that, when we come out of this, you're front of mind and can be working with me. But one thing I do always say, and it's so important in a crisis, do not self-promote by piggybacking on a crisis. I have seen too many businesses, especially as Corona hit, for example, that started going with oh, are you at home? Or, well, we do this and we do that. And it starts becoming unpalatable. It starts to be too jumping on the negative. Rather than inspiring, it's just selling, and we need to be careful. There is a grey area there, so try not to do the self-promoting on the back of a crisis. And if you're ever stuck with what I mean by that, and you want to run something by me, I'm more than happy for you to just quickly email me and say, okay, this is happening with Corona. I'd really like to do this kind of topic. Do you think it's okay? That kind of quick question for me, I really don't mind, because I appreciate it's a grey area. The next thing is to be genuine. We want to hear from businesses that are being authentic, that are being genuine, that are sincere. But do try not to be a me too. I have also seen businesses who have gone over the top, in my mind, about Captain Tom. Let's use him as an example. There's a fine line between, wow, it's so great to hear about someone inspiring, and to be inspired by and to be really proud of people in our society that push everything that they can to try and raise money, for example. But when you've got businesses seeing, oh, actually, everyone cares about this, I better show that I care about it, and then they go overboard, it actually starts to reduce the impact and loses their credibility. So try not to be too much of a me too. It doesn't matter if there is a lot going on in one area. If you don't feel like you can be genuine about it or link a real sincere comment to it, and I'm not talking about Captain Tom was just an example, but if there is something happening that's positive and you can share it and go, wow, this is really exciting and I really love seeing this, great. But if your business tries going overboard because you're trying to capitalize on a positive thing, sometimes that me too can go a bit overboard. And I hope I'm making sense here. It's always easier when I'm working with a client and we kind of battle ideas back and forth, but hopefully this is making sense. And then lastly, again, it's all about video. For me, it drives social media content. We have more time these days to be able to watch videos as well. So it's really good to capitalize with your marketing in terms of the videos you can make. They help you be personal, as I've said before. They're easy to digest, and they help us to feel connected because we're seeing the business owner or the person who's responsible for marketing that business. We're seeing their face. We're hearing them. We're in lockdown. We're not necessarily seeing many people at the moment. So it's actually quite nice, first of all, to hear and see from someone that we might be missing, or that, it's good to just see a face, but also they might not know you. You might just be a name behind an email or a voice behind a phone. So being able to see your face and engage with you in that way also helps us to feel that warm, fluffy feeling when we come out of lockdown and like, yeah, actually I've built a rapport. I don't know many people who don't like to walk into a pub and not have their name. Oh, hello, so-and-so, nice to see you again. The majority of people quite like that personal relationship, and they might feel that even if it's just a two-dimensional thing, if you're talking to camera and they get to see your face. So do consider video in terms of your marketing content. And I just wanted to lastly say the nurturing now for growth later. Some businesses are unable to properly work right now. but now is the time to be nurturing. Now is the time to be looking after your customers and clients and making them know that you're there and you care about them, so that when you can work, you're front of mind and you can say, oh, you know, I'm back to work now. And they're like, oh, great, because I've been hearing that you've been evolving. I've been seeing what you've been doing. It's been making me think and feeling inspired. So now I get to work with you. That's great. Let's move on. Whereas if you don't do any nurturing now and then you come, oh, I can work. Do you want me to work with you? They may have already heard from someone else, or it may just be out of the blue and they're actually just prioritizing something else that they might spend their time and money on. So definitely nurture now for growth later. And I know 100%, although this is grammatically incorrect, it was the best picture I could find. You've got this. You can do it. It'll be fine. It's all good. My part's over. Drop the mic. Over to Claire. Okay. Claire, you're on mute, darling. I don't know if you know you're on mute.
I know. I'm just talking there. Thank you. That's excellent. How do I follow that? Okay. So what my little piece of this is how we can put that, what we've just learned, into some actual video ideas. So I've come up with 4 ideas. The first one is your lockdown journey. It might be something you want to do now or in a few weeks, depending on the story, because the story is the key bit here, really. I tried to find this video that I picked up on social media, but I can't find a link. They've obviously put it native into Instagram. So if you follow Abel and Cole, the organic fruit and veg company, if you follow their accounts, back in April, I can't remember the date, I think it was like 22nd of April, they posted a video which was their journey so far, how the company had completely adapted to the change in demand, because obviously everybody wanted fruit and veg, but they had to do that while socially distancing, and they did loads of video clips of people who were socially distancing and how they were changed their business to cater for the demand. And it was the feeling that it gave you watching it was the important thing. And I'm thinking how you can do that yourself is probably with a series of pictures and texts. And you can just map it out in 30 seconds. You could do a short video saying, you know, the day the bomb dropped, you know, the day that, you know, Boris announced. For me, it was the day that Boris announced the advice to not go into pubs and restaurants. Was the next day was the day that it all fell off a cliff, and then we went into lockdown, and then we entered uncertainty. So there's a really lovely story about how you've managed to come over adversity, as Rebecca was sort of alluding to. And you can always show people, if your business is, if you're retail and you've totally stopped, then you can show you DIY in the house or doing something really constructive to say, you know, I'm doing something really positive. And then going back into the steps of what happens in the next few weeks as well. Maybe it could be sometime down the line, you opening the door of your premises, and actually today's going to be the day we're going to welcome customers back. And there's kind of things that you are doing to make sure that everyone's kept nice and safe as well. So that's a potential idea. Can you move the next slide?
Sure.
The next idea is a classic. It's client testimonial. Obviously, that's what I do most of the time when we're not in lockdown. And there's no reason why you can't get some of your clients to film themselves and send you a quick video on a phone. So if you do ask them to do a testimonial for you, make sure they do it in landscape, not in portrait, because that comes out better when you put it on social media, and they just stand close to the microphone. And that's all the advice I would give them. And you can do literally selfie video and just a little bit of feedback. It would be good to maybe sow the seeds of how you've particularly helped at this time, because I think that's quite valuable content to say, actually, this business started to deliver to my house because I couldn't get that product because they closed their doors or something. So how they'd changed and pivoted. So that's a client testimonial. It is still possible. It is still possible. In fact, I have filmed testimonials for my clients in lockdown as well. So it can still be done. The next slide, third video idea is, if your clients aren't happy to do a testimonial for you, there's no reason why you can't still tell the story of how it happened. So if you've had, you know, a brilliant, lovely, heartwarming experience that someone's emailed you, messaged you, texted you, picked up the phone to say this has been really brilliant, they won't say it on camera. There's no reason why you can't do that and just talk about it authentically and sincerely and say, you know, I've just had a lovely email from a client and it made my heart sing, and I just had to do a video just to tell you about it, because with all this stuff that's going on, it just lightened up my day. Something like that, that shows, you know, that you really care and you're so pleased, and everything, the feedback is so gratefully received, and there's no problem with doing a testimonial almost yourself, although it doesn't always have the same credibility, sadly enough. And my last idea is evidence. What I mean by this is, looking into the next few weeks, businesses are going to have to adapt and change to counter for social distancing, and I think you're going to have to communicate that, and it doesn't actually have to be in a video idea. For example, I was speaking to Chris Ord, who's on this chat, and he cleans floors for a living, and he was telling me yesterday about how he's now invested in a lot of PPE and sterilising equipment and this sort of thing. So there's no reason why he couldn't either do a quick video of him wearing all of his PPE and doing his stuff, or take a photograph, and then just to communicate the evidence that you are now operating in a safer way. That is I feel that's a bit of a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, because every industry is different, and going forward there's going to be certain industries that will open up before others. So I wouldn't want to suggest anyone do anything that contravenes the government guidance. So do be, you know, and again, I'm sure Rebecca would agree, I think if you start to contravene the guidance, it could actually work against you, because I think most people want to keep safe. So if they see a business operating when they should have been told not to, even if they think they've got the right kind of things in place, I think that could be a negative a view for some people. So you really have to be your PR is really quite important here. You've got to do the right thing. And would you say, Rebecca, if you're unsure about doing the right thing, don't do anything?
Yeah, definitely. Nothing's worth it. If you're not sure, don't do it.
No, don't tarnish your reputation. However, I do think there are certain things that can be alluded to. For example, fully PPE'd up, that, you know, you're looking really protected, and, you know, for example, Chris is going to go to places where there are nobody, so he's going to be the only person in a place. I don't know if you're going to have PPE on for that, but it's just, you know, ticking every single box that everybody's safe, and that's your priority, really. So that final slide. This is a one-size-fits-all, because so many businesses that are tuning in today are so different in the way they operate. So I don't know if we necessarily have a solution for anybody, not that we're giving solutions, but hopefully what we've done is inspired some thought as to what you can do now, and even better, if we've maybe going to inspire some action as well, so you actually going to start to do some planning and putting some stuff in place. I've found with my own video marketing, it's been really tough to plan ahead, because I've produced videos that by the time I've come to actually promote them, the information's obsolete, or there was something incorrect, so I've had to ditch it. So in terms of video planning, I think if you're messaging, don't look too far ahead. Do 1 week to week, because you'll probably find you've got a load of content that you cannot use, because you don't know what's going to be around the corner. You could tell your customers one thing and then advice could change. So do be careful about planning too far ahead. That is really it. I'm going to actually, can you stop sharing the screen now?
Great, thank you.
And literally, old-fashioned, put your hand up if anybody wants to ask. Probably more Rebecca than me. If anybody has anything they want to ask, you can actually unmute yourselves as well.